Good morning. Today we will start with a new topic, DTP. DTP stands for Dynamic Trunking Protocol. Guys, whenever you are studying a protocol, whether it is layer 2, whether it is layer 3 or it is layer 7 or it is layer 4, you must know basic things about that protocol. Which things? What are the basic things? Okay. If I talk about RIP, first of all, RIP is a routing protocol, all of you know. But first of all of you must know at which layer RIP works. At which layer it works? Layer 7. It uses UDP port number 520. That's very good. Now, when I am saying about DTP, all of you must know at which layer it works. Layer 2. And we have discussed one thing in the last class, if you remember, that whenever a switch will send layer 2 information to another switch, it will never use Ethernet header. Which header it will use? 802.3, which is binded with a new header called LLC. LLC stands for Logical Link Control. Now, there will be some fields in LLC. We can discuss those fields in more detail in CCNP if you want, but those are not given in your book. Fine. So, if you want to learn, what you can learn is, in LLC header, there are two things. Fine. One is snap header and one more header is there. In that snap header, there will be a value. Fine. That value will tell you which protocol you are using. Let's say that value is 1. I am just taking an example. Value will never be 1 because value is always represented in hexadecimal. Fine. Value will be 1, traffic will be of DTP. Value will be true, traffic will be of another protocol. This thing is clear? So all of you know now how switch will differentiate between different packets. How switch will get to know whether I am receiving a DTP packet or any other protocol packet. This thing is clear? So before starting with DTP, first of all we will discuss what is the need of DTP. Fine. So let's take an example. Switch 1. Till now, all of you know how these two guys will communicate. Yes or no? With the help of MAC address table. Any issues? Fine. Today, I will extend this diagram from one switch to two switches. Here I have a user MAC address A. Here I have a user MAC address B. Port number 1, port number 2, port number 1, port number 2. Any issues? No. Now, if I say these users belong to VLAN 10, will they communicate? Yes. According to the rule, they must communicate. But come to the basics. Come to the basics. Let's talk about the basic thing. The basic thing is, first of all, if this guy has to communicate with this guy has to generate a ARP. Agree or not? By default, on a switch at this time, how many broadcast domains are there? How many broadcast domains are there? He is very right. What's your name? Asmat. Asmat is saying there are how many broadcast domains? 2. You can prove it. Just tell them how there are 2 broadcast domains. पीछे खिड़की है, निकलने का रास्ता नहीं है, फिर भी कूदने की कोशिश करिए और कूद जाइए. Bro, try to understand the thing. How switch divides the broadcast domain? When I assign a port to a different VLAN other than 1, then switch will divide the broadcast domain. Okay, let's take this example first. This is a switch. 6 ports are there. These 3 ports are member of VLAN These 3 ports are member of VLAN. How many broadcast domains are there? 2. Here, same case we have. How many broadcast domains are there? 2. Because how many VLANs are there? 2. It is not because of VLANs. It is because of ports we have assigned to the VLANs. Which port we have assigned to the VLANs? Port number 1 to VLAN 10. Port number 2 to VLAN 10. It means if a switch will generate a broadcast, if a computer will generate a broadcast, whether it will go in broadcast domain 10 or it will go in broadcast domain 1, but it will never be mixed. It will never be. What I am trying to say, VLAN 1 broadcast will never go in VLAN 10. VLAN 10 broadcast will never go in VLAN 1. Agree? This thing is clear? Now, by default, all ports of switch are in which VLAN? 1. So, if you say this guy is generating a R, it will go out of this port. No, never. Because this port is by default member of VLAN 1. It means these guys cannot communicate. If you want them to communicate, what you have to do? You have to configure this link also in VLAN 10. Agree? Now they will communicate. Yes or no? Yes. Because this guy will generate a broadcast. Switch will check this port is also the member of same broadcast domain. Same broadcast domain. And it will forward broadcast out of which port? This port. It will be received by which port? This port. Now this switch will check. Yes, I am receiving traffic on which port? Port number 1. It is member of which VLAN? 10. It means I have to forward this broadcast out of which ports? Which are the member of same broadcast domain. This port is also a member of same broadcast domain. It means it will forward the broadcast and they will communicate. This thing is clear? But if scenario is like this link is member of VLAN 1, they will never communicate. Yes or no? I am saying right or wrong? Yes or no? Yes. यार तेज बोलो yes or no? हाँ मेरे को यकीन होना चाहिए हाँ भाई पता चल गया ठीक है जी this thing is clear now what's your name Kiran now I ask Kiran what will be the solution if I want VLAN 10 to communicate Kiran is giving me a solution sir connect a link between two switches and assign it to VLAN 10 and they will communicate okay this solution is very fine what's your name now I am asking Sagar I have another VLAN also VLAN 20 I want their communication what I have to do I have to create another link and I have to assign it to VLAN 20 clear now I am asking Shubham we have VLAN 30 also I want them also to communicate Shubham is saying connect one more link assign it to VLAN 30 first problem if one link goes down a particular VLAN users will never able to communicate yes or no first thing and second thing I have two links but none of the link is backup for the other link I have and none of the link is backup for the other link yes or no yes it means this is a problem in real time if you have 10 VLANs here and 10 VLANs here and if you want them to communicate how many links you need 10 if you have 100 VLANs if you have 200 VLANs so between switches instead of having multiple links you want a single link which can carry traffic of multiple VLANs that particular link is called trunk link or you can call it a channel this thing is clear what is a channel is a link which will carry traffic of multiple VLANs agree now if instead of connecting 3 or 4 links if I connect a single link that will carry traffic of all the VLANs agree now I am connecting how many links 2 first thing traffic will never go through 2 links traffic will always use 1 link but other link will act as a backup It means trunk is solving here two problems, that I don't need multiple links, and if I have two links, one link will act as a backup. This thing is clear? Fine. Shall we move on? What is trunk clear to all of you? Now, on a switch, by default, there are two types of ports. How many types of ports? Two types. What are they? One is access, other is trunk. One is other is. Now, what is an access port? Access port is a port which will always carry traffic of a VLAN, traffic for a VLAN, whom it is member of. If I am a member of VLAN 1, I will only carry traffic for VLAN. If I am a member of VLAN 10, I will only carry traffic for VLAN. This is by default behavior of every port of a switch, which is by default access. Which is by default access. नहीं आ रहा और नहीं आ रहा क्या कर रहा है नोट डाउन कर if a port is a member of VLAN 30 and it is an access port, which traffic it will carry? VLAN 30. Any issue? If a port is a member of VLAN 59, which traffic it will carry? VLAN 59. If a port is a member of VLAN 69, which traffic it will carry? 69. Yes or no? If a port is a member of VLAN 64, which traffic it will carry? 64. Agree? But if a port is a trunk link, which traffic it will carry? It means if I have to define a trunk port, I can define it in two ways. First, trunk port is a member of every VLAN because it is carrying traffic for. Or second thing, it is not a member of any VLAN. It is not a member of. So you can define it in any way you want to define. But on a switch, what switch thinks? What? This is our perspective. Switch perspective is a port which is trunk is a member of all VLANs. Is a member of all VLANs. This thing is clear? Now, second thing. If I am not talking about Cisco, I am talking about Juniper. How many of you know what is Juniper? Juniper is just a company like Cisco. You are studying here, Cisco. What I am saying, if you are working on a device other than Cisco, what behavior you will find there? Two behaviors. Access and trunk. Access and trunk. This thing is clear to all of you? Now, all of you look here. Just raise your hand. I will be asking some question. What is the difference between static and dynamic routing? I want that all of you must raise your hands. You don't know the difference between static and dynamic routing? Raise your hand. Answer. When we manually define the path, routing will be dynamic. When router itself identifies a path on the basis of protocol we are running on the router. On the basis of protocol we are running on the. Agree? Shall we move on? Now, if I say these are two routers and this is network B. If this network goes down and I am running static routing on this router will get to know that this network is down. Yes or no? No, never. But if we are running dynamic routing, this router will get to know that this network is no more present. Agree? It means in dynamic routing, if we have a change, we will always get to know about that change. But in static routing, we will never get to know about that change. Yes or no? Yes. Shall we move on? Next thing. I am saying these are Juniper switches. How many port types are there? Two, access and trunk. Fine. If I am configuring this port of a switch as trunk, this port also as trunk, I am configuring them. I am configuring them statically. It means if one end goes down, other end will never get to know that the particular end is down. If this particular port goes down, this end will never get to know that this port is down. It will keep on sending data because its own link is trunk. Its own link is trunk. We have a problem. It means here also we need dynamic behavior. What do we need? What kind of dynamic behavior? That if one end of the link goes down, other end must know that thing. Agree or not? Agree? Shall we move on? Okay. Cisco has a solution for it. What is the solution? Cisco make a protocol. That protocol is called DTP. That protocol is called DTP stands for dynamic. Name is clear? Dynamic. The protocol which is making the trunk dynamically, not statically. Not. देख, जब भी पढ़ रहे होते हैं ना, या तो कॉपी बंद कर दे या कॉपी खोल के मत रख, तेरा ध्यान वहीं रहेगा. ठीक है? Next thing. Now, if I talk about dynamic routing and I am talking about RIP. In case of RIP, routers were exchanging some updates. It means in case of DTP also, switches will exchange some updates. Agree? Switches will exchange some updates. What is that update? It means switch will say, yeah, I am here and I am trunk. Other switch will also say, I am there and I am trunk. If for a particular amount of time, like if I talk about EIGRP, that timer is, hold timer is 15 seconds. If a router is not receiving hellos from last 15 seconds, he will announce its neighbor as down. It will announce its neighbor as down. Similar is the case here. Up to the time both switches will be exchanging DTP packets, trunk will be up. If a switch is not able to receive DTP packets, trunk will be down. Just tell me one thing, in this case, trunk is discovered statically or dynamically? Dynamically. And if one end goes down, other end will get to know. Yes or no? Yes. Our problem is solved. This thing is clear? Now, instead of using access and trunk as modes, DTP will use its own two modes are there. Which modes are there? DTP is a protocol which is used to form a trunk. Fine. It will form a trunk and it will confirm the thing that from both ends trunk is up. From both ends trunk is up. If from one end trunk goes down, DTP will tell the other end trunk is down. Please remove trunking status from your side. Please don't send me data. If I talk about the previous case, in Juniper switches, there was nothing like this. You have to configure trunk statically. You have to configure trunk. This thing is clear? Now, what is dynamic auto? What is dynamic desirable? Dynamic auto means Read the line. Read it again. You are a switch, I am a switch. We both are connected. On both the ends, mode is dynamic auto. Will we form a trunk? No. We will never form a, because I am also waiting and you are also waiting. We will never form a trunk. And what is dynamic desirable? I will by sending DTP packets are sent after every 30 seconds. Hold time is, all of you know the meaning of hold time? For what maximum time switches will wait? Hold time is 300 seconds. Clear? This thing is clear? Now, if I say one end is DA, other end is also DA, switches will form a trunk? No. One end is DA, other end is DD. See, this time, this switch will send a DTP packet with its mode DA. This switch will send a DTP packet with its mode DD. Okay, take it like this. This port will only send DTP packet with its mode DD. Now DA will say, yes, someone is there who want to initiate trunking. Yes, I will form a trunk. Yes, I will form a trunk. Agree? Now, if I have DD on both sides, this will also send a packet, this will also send a packet, there will be trunking. This thing is clear? Now, if I have DA here and I statically configure trunk here, do they form trunk? Yes, how? When here, see, it's a very important thing that you have to understand. When on a Cisco switch, I configure a port statically as trunk. Statically as, it doesn't mean I am disabling DTP. It doesn't mean I am disabling. It will still send a DTP packet with its mode as trunk. Now DA will say, yes, someone is there who want to initiate trunking. So I will form a trunk. Agree? Last case. If I have dynamic auto here, I have configured trunk link here statically, but I disable DTP. They will never form a trunk. Why? Because it will never send a DTP packet. This thing is clear? Fine. Now in CCNP also there will be no more case. But we will dig into it. We will discuss some scenarios, we will discuss some problems which can stop your trunking. This thing is clear to all of you? If I have a DA here, trunking will form? Because no one will send. Agree? If I have a DA here, DD here, both side DD. Both side DD? Yes. One end access, other end trunk. From this side link will be up trunk, from this side link will not be trunk. It means the users will never communicate. This thing is clear? Any issue? And main are the last two cases. One is DA, dynamic auto. Other end, I am configuring the port as trunk statically, but DTP is still. Second case, I am configuring the trunk statically. DTP is off. This thing is clear? It means on a switch how many modes will be there? One is dynamic auto, dynamic, third is, fourth mode is Fourth mode is access. This thing is clear to all of you? Any problem? Bilkul. He is saying the very right thing. That if these are switches, trunk link will be this link and these ports will be access ports. It means to the access ports who is connected? To the trunk ports who is connected? Okay bro. This port is? This port is? ऐसा होगा ही नहीं ना. देख तूने एक्सेस बनाया, यहाँ पे क्या बनाया? ट्रंक. इस स्विच पे क्या दिखेगा? पोर्ट क्या है? ट्रंक. इस स्विच पे कोई भी ट्रंक पोर्ट एग्जिस्ट नहीं करेगा. ठीक है भाई? दिस थिंग इज क्लियर? एनी इशू? हाँ जी. तो भी होगा. ये क्या क्वेश्चन आ रहा है आपके माइंड में? I am just telling you, if you have users in different VLANs on multiple switches, how they will communicate. You have to create a channel between two switches or three switches or four switches. How many switches you have? This thing is clear? आ रहा हूँ सी बात पे, राउटर वाली बात. हाँ. क्यों? आऊंगा उस बात पे, रुक तो जा. सबर सबर थोड़ा सा. फाइन. This thing is clear? Now, he is asking a very good question. That sir, this is a switch. Here I have multiple users in different VLANs and it is connected to a router. This link also have to carry information of multiple. It means this link must also be trunk. This link must also be trunk. Clear? Now, I am telling you a thing. Listen to me carefully. Many times people ask me this question, sir, if I have an option of dynamic auto and dynamic desirable on Cisco switch, what is the need of trunk option on a switch, on Cisco switch? Agree? See, dynamic auto or dynamic desirable you can only use when on the other end you are also running DTP. On the other end you are also running. Just take this case. In this case, on the router you cannot run DTP. It means you have to statically configure here port as trunk. This thing is clear? Second thing. If I have switches of different vendor, let's say this is now on Juniper switch you will never find DTP. Juniper will configure its link as you can also configure your link as trunk, and what you can do, you can disable DTP here. Any issues? Any problem to anyone? कोई problem? तेरे से पूछ रहा हूँ, क्या प्रॉब्लम होता? तेरे से पीछे वाले से. तो मैंने मैनुअली क्या बना दिया? ट्रंक. What I have done, I manually configured the port as trunk. This thing is clear? Now, main concern. VLAN 10, VLAN 20, VLAN 30, VLAN 40. 10, 20, 30, 40. Now 10 will communicate with 10, 20 with 20, 30 with 30, 40 with 40. But now the main concern is, when this guy will send data, how this switch will recognize that which VLAN it belongs to? Yes or no? Yes, this is the case. Because 10 is different broadcast domain, 20 is, 30 is different. For this thing, switch uses, what do they use? Frame tagging. For frame tagging, I have two Yes. Read it 3 times. आप पढ़ो एक बार दोबारा. नाम क्या आपका? Now what I am saying, first of all, tagging can be done by 2 methods. One is, other is, it means both are a kind of encapsulation. How many of you know what is the meaning of encapsulation? Adding something. Adding something. Pen. Encapsulation. बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, सोच लो यार खुद, समझाने की हालत नहीं है अभी मेरी. छोड़ो. Now I will give you an example. Let's say these are 2 switches. VLAN 10, 20, 30, 10, 20, 30. Now, whenever this guy want to communicate with this guy will send data to this port. This port is a trunk port. Agree? Now, with the data, what switch will add? A tag. This tag will be having information about what thing? VLAN. Now, how this port will get to know that which VLAN tag I have to put here? It means it will always check the this traffic is initiated from which port? VLAN 10. It will always send, sorry, traffic is initiated by which port? Port number 1. Port number 1 is member of which VLAN? 10. It will always put a tag of VLAN 10. It will be carried with data. This switch will receive it. This switch will check. Tag is of VLAN. It will remove the tag. दोबारा वापस आएंगे ना? It will remove the tag and it will forward traffic to VLAN 10. This thing is clear. Now, let's say 20 want to communicate with 20. 20 will send its data. Now switch will check. Do I have any other port in VLAN 20? No, but I have a trunk port. Agree? This is a trunk port with the data. What thing is added? VLAN 20 received by this switch. This switch will say yes, this particular traffic belongs to VLAN 20. It means I have to forward it out of which ports, which are the member of VLAN 20. This thing is clear? Fine. So do. अगर R पोती तो, if his question is, if I have one more port here in VLAN 20, will it be broadcasted here also? Yes. What will be the difference? First difference, if it is a R packet, only then it is broadcasted. If it is not a R packet, it will never be broadcasted. Second thing, if it is sent on the access port, there will be no tag. But it will be, if it will be sent on the trunk port, there will be a tag. Access ports will never carry tag. Trunk ports will always carry tag. Fine? Clear? Now, for this tagging, as we have discussed, we have two things, .1q and .1q. If you are using it, will add a 4-byte header. 4-byte header. In between, if you are using ISL, it will add fine. We will never use ISL because it will increase the overhead. Fine. It will always increase the size of data. This thing is clear? Fine. We will always use .1q. This thing is clear? Now, switch 1, switch 2. Now, by default, if it is a Cisco switch, encapsulation is always there are three modes of encapsulation. One is either you can set it as .1q, or you can set it as, by default it is negotiated. What do you mean by negotiated? And why it is negotiated? Look here. Here it's also negotiate. Here it's also. Now what they will negotiate? Always ISL. Keep this thing in mind. This is by default behavior of Cisco switch. If you are connecting two switches together and both are Cisco, by default on both the ends encapsulation will be. So which encapsulation they will negotiate? By default ISL. Clear? Now, on this end you are manually setting it as .1q. This side will always also negotiate .1q. Any problem? Now I am writing here the cases. By default it is negotiate on both the ends. Any problem? And they will by default negotiate. If you are setting here dot 1q, he will negotiate. Agree? If here you are setting ISL, it will negotiate. ISL. On both the ends you can also run. On both the ends you can also run. Clear? But it will never work. It will never, you will never able to communicate. There will be no problem with the trunk, but you will never able to. Why? Because this switch will always add which, how many bytes header? It will always add which header? Dot 1q will never understand ISL and ISL will never understand dot 1q. Any problem? Any issues? Cisco में by default क्या होता है? Negotiate. On Cisco switches by default mode is if you are connecting it with Juniper. On open standard we have only one thing. It will negotiate dot 1q. Clear? Any problem? बोलो. कोई इशू है तो पूछो. Fine. नोट, अगर ये बात कोई भूल गया तो आपका अपना ही लॉस होगा. ठीक है जी, बात याद रखना. प्लीज रिमेंबर माई टॉक, व्हाट आई एम सेइंग नाउ. व्हाट? दैट इफ यू वांट टू कॉन्फ़िगर एनकैप्सुलेशन, sorry, if you want to configure port as trunk, encapsulation must be dot 1q or ISL. It can never be negotiate. It can never be negotiate. Clear? This thing is clear? If its encapsulation must be set to dot 1q or never negotiate. Clear? Clear? Any problem? DTP खत्म. मुश्किल था? मुश्किल था नहीं. प्रैक्टिकल करें. रह कौन है ना भाई? कलर चेंज करूंगा यार, तुम बताना कौन सा अच्छा है. बहुत दिन हो गए कलर चेंज नहीं किया. फोरग्राउंड का मतलब होता है वर्ड्स का कलर. ब्लू रख लूं? अच्छा लगता है किसी को ब्लू? लगता है भाई अच्छा? ये तो वाइट ही रहने दो. मेरा तो फेवरेट है यार ब्लू. हुआ तो नहीं चेंज, हम भी मानेंगे थोड़ा ना. हाँ यार, पिछली बार भी मैं इंटरैक्ट करके चला गया था, सेलेक्ट तो किया नहीं था. लग रहा है अच्छा? जब वीडियो देखोगे तब मजा आएगा. मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है. ओए यार, डायग्राम बना ले. पहले बता देता हूं व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, फिर मैं आपको कॉन्फ़िगर करके दिखा दूंगा और सारा रिजल्ट दिखा दूंगा. फाइन. स्विचिंग का प्रैक्टिकल आप कैसे करोगे? लैब में जाना है, ग्रुप्स में डिवाइड हो जाना है, क्योंकि इतने डिवाइसेस हर बंदे को नहीं मिलेंगे। यू हैव टू डिवाइड योर सेल्फ इन ग्रुप्स। अगर आपसे नहीं होता मैं कर देता हूँ, करूँ? 5 5 5 5 और क्या, ऐसे छोड़ना था, नाम से छोड़ना करूँगा अब। ठीक है भाई, अपने लोग देख लेना 5, और ग्रुप की प्रॉब्लम ले लूँगा फिर मैं। जैसे आपको कुछ इशू आया कल, तो 5 बंदों को एक ही इशू आएगा भाई। ठीक है ना भाई, कल बात कर लेंगे फिर। स्विच 1, स्विच 2, स्विच 3। ठीक है जी, 2 स्विचेज ही बहुत हैं यार, सब कुछ करके दिखा दूंगा इन्हीं पे। फाइन, लिंक नंबर आर here we have, here we have, here I have। याद है उस दिन भी तो एक्सेस की थी। यू रिमेंबर द पोर्ट्स? दैट्स गुड, वेरी गुड। डायग्राम याद हो गया? स्टार्ट करें। यार एक चीज आती थी, अब नहीं आ रही। कैसे क्या मेरा? एक मिनट भाई। बात मत करो यार। यार किसी को पता है, यहाँ पे एक ऑप्शन आता था ट्रांसपेरेंसी का। अब नहीं आ रहा यार, कहाँ गया? एक मिनट, कहाँ है टर्मिनल? ये रहा। कहाँ है ब्रो? ओह जय माता दी भाई, नहीं मिल रहा यार, सॉरी यार। कहाँ, ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए। कल ढूंढ के लाऊंगा भाई, ठीक है? फाइन। हाँ पता है, क्या पूछ रहे हैं, मुझे समझ नहीं आया। ये स्लॉट नंबर है भाई। ओ सॉरी यार, सॉरी भाई, तुम्हें पता था ना? बस ठीक है, बात खत्म यार। मैं पता नहीं क्या गलत लिख दिया यार, कंफ्यूज मत करो यार। फाइन, What I will do, I will disable routing on routers, and I will use it as C. Router will remain a router. It will never become PC. Fine. So I will use it as a user. This thing is clear, but it will remain a router, but it will never perform routing. This thing is clear. As I am communicating in the same network, there is no need of gateway. This thing is clear to all of you. We are communicating in the same network, because now we are not performing the practical of inter-VLAN routing. This thing is clear. 2/0/3/0/1 R4. 2/0/4/0/1. Draw this diagram in your notebook fast. मजा तो तभी आएगा ना यार. सॉरी यार. कल बताऊंगा बेटे. Now, here we will use VLAN 10. Here we will use VLAN 20. Here also VLAN 10. Here also VLAN 20. I will not use both of the links. I will only use the link number 21 or 22. 21 or 22? 21. Okay. I will not use 20. टी शर्ट बहुत अच्छी है. कहाँ से लाया? अब जवाब सुन लो भाई का. कोई तो पढ़ी लिखी बात कर देता. हाँ, फिर ऐसे बोलना. कितने लोगों को ट्रेंड्स वैल्यू के बारे में पता है? ऐसी एक वेबसाइट है, ट्रेंड्स वैल्यू. टी शर्ट मिलती है, कभी खरीदनी हो वहां से खरीद लिया करो. 300 रुपए की. मैं भी वहीं से खरीदता हूँ. हम याद हो गया सबको? स्टार्ट करें यार. एक तो ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है भाई. आपकी कॉपी में डायग्राम है सबके पास? तो मैं एक्सेस ले लेता हूँ. R1 R2 R3 R4 टोपोलॉजी बना लेता हूँ पहले सारी. आई विल मेक द टोपोलॉजी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. चल जा भाई फटाफट. R1 interface FA0/no shut down. IP address. R1 will be in which VLAN? I can use a network. Any issue? It is connected with switch. Any issue? It is connected with switch. IP address assign. Any issue? Fine. R2's interface is FA0/0. We are using it for VLAN 192.168.2.1. Network is different. Yes or no? Show CDP. It is also connected with switch. Any problem? Show IP interface brief. Other port is shut down. Now I will come to R3. Done. Show CDP. It is connected to switch. Port number 0/. Any issues? R. Done. Show CDP. 43 रख दिया नाम गलती से. Sorry, 2. R4 is connected to switch 2. हाँ जी. Switch लिखा होगा यार यहाँ. I का मतलब IGMP होता. हाँ जी. सॉरी यार गलती से दे दिया. टू डॉट. थैंक यू. नो IP राउटर. होस्ट नेम R. फाइन. नो IP. कॉपी. Paste. 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 Done. No IP routing on all the routers. किस पे? Show IP interface brief. भाई सुनो दोस्त, ये एक्सेस सर्वर है. मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, मैं तेरे को डिवाइस का कंसोल दिखा रहा हूँ. ये डिवाइस नहीं है. डिवाइस है नहीं. ये रैक को एक्सेस करने के लिए एक एक्सेस सर्वर बनाया गया जिससे मैं रैक को एक्सेस कर रहा हूँ. ये उसकी कॉन्फ़िगरेशन है. उस चीज़ को छोड़ दो. वो आपको मैं CCNP में नहीं बताऊंगा मैंने उसको कैसे किया, हमने उसको कैसे इंस्टॉल किया हुआ. वो सिर्फ किसी को एक्सेस देने के लिए. फाइन. वीडियो चल रही है ना? हाँ जी भाई, मजा आएगा. इंटरफेस रेंज फास्ट ईथरनेट 2/0/19 to 4. रुक तो जाओ एक बार. शट. विच लिंक आई हैव टू यूज? ओनली 2/0/20. See the topology now. Switch 2 is connected to switch 1, R3 and R4. Any problem? Any issue? टेलनेट करना सिखाया था स्विच को? सिखा दिया था? आ गया था सबको? SVI बना के. SVI बताया था क्या होता है? Switch virtual interface. SVI is just like a network connected on the switch. This thing is clear? This thing is fine. Switch will also generate ARP. बताया था? Switch will also generate ARP. बताया था? Yes or no? बताओ ना, बता देता हूं यार अभी. See here. Switch 1, switch 2. Just try to understand one thing. First of all, what is SVI? SVI stands for Switch Virtual Interface. Any issue? Now, guys, try to understand a simple thing. You cannot assign IP address to a port of a switch. It is not possible. So what you will do? You will create a virtual interface. That virtual interface must belong to a VLAN. Yes or no? Because every switch port belongs to a VLAN. Agree? Let's say I am creating it as interface VLAN 1. IP address 10.0.0.1. After that, no shut down. Now this SVI can communicate with all the ports which are member of VLAN 1. This thing is clear. Now I am creating SVI on this switch also. Interface VLAN 1. IP address 10.0.0.2. This thing is clear. So just take SVI as a user connected to the switch. Just take SVI as a user connected to the switch. Agree? And it will always belong to a VLAN. It will always belong to a. This thing is fine. Any issues? Now next thing. Always keep this thing in mind. Whenever a switch has to ping, whenever a switch has to, it needs a source IP. It needs a source IP. Let's say from this switch you are pinging this switch. From 10.0.0.1 you are pinging 10.0.0.2. Fine. When 10.0.0.1 has to communicate with 10.0.0.2, what is the requirement? The 10.0.0.1 must know about the MAC address of 10.0.0.2. It means 10.0.0.1 will generate ARP for 10.0.0.2. Yes or no? Yes. Whenever it will generate ARP. Now there will be a question in your mind, sir. Switch will receive the ARP packet. We agree. Now, why switch will check layer 3 information? Yes or no? Guys, whenever a device is receiving some traffic and that traffic is destined for the device, that traffic is, it will always check upper layer information. See, I am a switch. You are sending some data to him. I am in between device. I will check the destination MAC address. I will find destination MAC address in my CAN table. Yes or no? Yes? Agree? Now, he is trying to ping me. He will send a ICMP packet. I will receive it at what layer? Layer 1. I will process at layer 2. I will check destination MAC address. I will check this destination MAC address is of my SVI. Is of? It means this packet is for me. I don't have to forward it. I don't have to forward it. This thing is clear? This thing is clear? So switch will also check layer 3 information when packets are destined for it. Telnet works at which layer? Layer 7. It means switch is also checking layer 7 information when packet is destined for it. This thing is clear? आप राउटर को पिंग करते हो, राउटर उस पैकेट को फॉरवर्ड क्यों नहीं करता राउटिंग टेबल देख के? क्योंकि राउटर को पता चल जाता है वो पैकेट destined किसके लिए है, उसी के लिए. This thing is clear? तो telnet भी करवा ही देता हूँ. I will repeat the telnet task again. Fine. So for telnet, I will use VLAN 1. नेटिव विलन की बात नहीं करेंगे. We will not talk about native VLAN now. Interface VLAN 1. Done. I have assigned IP address to the VLAN. How to check it? I have assigned interface VLAN, sorry, IP address. Done. Line VTY. Ten 0 0 I'm able to access, yes or no? I'm able to. I can ping also. 10.0.0 to show a MAC address of 10.0.0.2. It means whenever you create a SVI on a switch, switch will automatically assign a MAC address to that SVI. You want to check? Show interface VLAN 1. Here is the MAC address assigned to the SVI. This thing is clear? Any problem? MAC address क्यों assign किया SVI को समझ में आया? Why switch is assigning MAC address to the SVI? Because it has to communicate by using this IP and this MAC. Fine? रिजर्व होता है उसी में से ले लेता है. क्वेश्चन पूछा था एक कैम टेबल कहाँ स्टोर होती है ASIC चिप्स में. ASIC चिप्स कहाँ स्टोर होती हैं? ढूंढना नहीं, ढूंढना घर जाके आज. Check here also. On switch 2 also we have a SVI. Switch has assigned a MAC address to the SVI. This thing is clear? समझ में आया? तो SVI भी क्या एक यूजर है जो किससे कनेक्टेड है? स्विच से. ऐसा मान सकते हो. फाइन. Now look here. First of all, I am showing you something. So show interface FA 2/0/1 switch port. Command is show interface what is this? Interface number. Interface name is बोलो यार. Switch port is, it means this time this port is acting as a layer 2 port. Acting as a, you cannot assign IP address to this port. You cannot assign. Next thing, administrative mode, dynamic auto, operational mode. It means DTP is saying its mode is dynamic auto and it is behaving like abhi access hai ye. Now this port is a access port. This thing is clear. Next thing, administrative trunking and encapsulation, negotiate. Operational trunking and encapsulation, native, because it is member of VLAN 1 and VLAN 1 is called native VLAN. VLAN 1 is called. बात करेंगे इसकी बाद में, थोड़ा और बात करेंगे इस लाइन के बारे में जब आगे पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है जी, इसको अभी आप छोड़ भी सकते हो. फाइन. नेगोशिएशन ऑफ ट्रंकिंग ऑन, इट मींस DTP इज enabled. DTP is leave all other stuff. This information is clear. Now show interface do I have a trunk interface on the switch? Why? Two switches are connected with which link? Link number? Link number? Check 21 here also. Mode is working as. Now I am on which switch? On switch 2 also port number is. Mode is working as. By default encapsulation is. Both ends are dynamic. That's why there is no trunk. There is no. So what do you think? VLAN users will able to communicate, yes or no? No? So should I try? Yes, I will try. R1 is in which VLAN? Now it is in VLAN 1 because I am not assigned ports to any VLAN. It means now they will communicate, yes or no? Ping 192.168. One dot. They are communicating, yes or no? VLAN 1 is communicating with VLAN 1. You want to check R3 and R4 also? You want to check, yes or no? बताओ. हाँ बोलो ना यस फिर. R2 and R4, sorry. Ping 192.168 2 dot 2.2 तो इसी का है. His own IP address is 2 dot. Now what I will do? First task, I will move to switch 1. Show VLAN. By default, all ports are member of VLAN 1. आज कोई और VLAN बनाएंगे मजेदार सी. VLAN 10. नाम दे इसको क्या? Name. Fine. Second VLAN name. तीसरी VLAN नहीं बना रहा, चिंता मत करो. मेरे को पता तुम्हारे माइंड में अब क्या चल रहा है. गंदे लोगों. सबसे मस्त वही था. VLAN. On this switch, I can have a different name for VLAN 10. Yes, I can have. I can. Will it cause a problem? Why? It will not cause a problem, but name must be same. Problem नहीं होगी, पर ऐसा करना नहीं. Fine. Name will be. VLAN name will be done. Again back on switch 1. Interface FA 1/2/0/1. I have to assign it to which VLAN? See, whenever you are assigning a port to a VLAN, make it as your best practice that you always configure port as switch port mode. By default, every port is in which mode? Dynamic auto. In which mode? And I am configuring it as access. You want to know a thing? If you can remember, हमेशा याद रखना. Always keep this thing in mind. Whenever we configure a port as access, DTP get disabled on that port. DTP get. Why? See, which ports you will configure access where users are connected, yes or no? Is there any need of sending DTP packet to the user? No. So this is a by default behavior. When you are configuring a port as DTP will be. But when I configure the port as manually as trunk, DTP will never be disabled. This thing is clear? Okay. Second command, switch port access VLAN. VLAN interface. Done. किसी को ऐसा तो नहीं लग रहा ना तेज चल रहे हैं? पक्का तेज नहीं चल रहे यार. देखो अब तुम्हें ऐसा लगा सर स्विच कर लेते हैं फटाफट. वो यार वो तो आदत है. अब जब तुम करोगे अपना अलग अलग कंसोल लेके करोगे. यू विल बी डूइंग प्रैक्टिकल्स विद डिफरेंट कंसोल्स. आई एम डूइंग प्रैक्टिकल विद द सिंगल कंसोल. ये मैं ऐसे ही करता हूँ प्रैक्टिकल हमेशा, मैं आदत नहीं बदल सकता अपनी। VLAN इंटरफेस FA VLAN. What are the two commands? Tell me the commands. Fast. Switch port mode. Second command. Switch port access VLAN. जिस VLAN का मेंबर बनना चाहते हो. How to verify this thing? Which port is a member? Which port is a member? Any problem? Which port is a member? Which port is a member? Any problem? Now, if I try to communicate from I will be able to communicate? No. VLAN 10 users will not communicate and VLAN 20 user will also not. Why? Because there is no. Okay, you want to check this thing that if I configure the in between link in VLAN 10 they will communicate. अगर मैं बीच के लिंक को कॉन्फ़िगर कर दूं VLAN 10 में बात कर लेंगे, करके दिखाऊंगा, खुद कर लोगे? खुद कर लोगे? ट्रंक कॉन्फ़िगर करें? ट्रंक कॉन्फ़िगर करने से पहले वन थिंग आई वांट टू शो यू. लुक हियर. शो इंटरफेस FA 1/0/1. मैंने डायग्राम कॉपी पे इसलिए बनाया था कि आपको बार बार पोर्ट याद है ना. पोर्ट्स 1/0/1 इज कनेक्टेड टू R1 switch port. See, administrative mode is also access because I have configured the port as. Operational mode is also, and negotiation of trunking is, as I told you, when we configure a port as access, DTP is disabled. This thing is clear. How to configure port as trunk? Which port I have to configure as trunk? See, switch port mode. How many modes are available? Access, see, for you, access, trunk. Third is, it can be auto or it can be, so what I will run here? Desirable. This thing is clear. Show interface. I have a trunking interface. Okay. Show interface trunk is the command to check. Show interface trunk is the command to check which port is trunk. Agree? चलिए यार, एक तो फायदा हुआ. हाँ भाई, check here first thing. Which port is? Which is the port? Mode is? It is negotiating. By default, if you have negotiate on both the ends, what will be negotiated? ISL. Status is? Native VLAN is 1. What is native VLAN? We will dig into it after completing PVST. जब हम PVST पढ़ लेंगे पर VLAN spanning tree, स्पैनिंग ट्री पढ़ने के बाद हम किसके बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे? नेटिव वीलन के बारे में. अभी के लिए, फॉर नाउ यू कैन कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड दैट नेटिव वीलन ट्रैफिक विल ऑलवेज गो अनटैग्ड. ऑलवेज गो अनटैग्ड. Switch will never tag traffic for VLAN 1. Now VLANs 1 से 4094. Clear? VLANs allowed and कौन सी हैं? इन दोनों में डिफरेंस क्या? What is the difference between these two things? पढ़ो ना क्या लिखा हुआ है? VLANs. It means for how many VLANs this port will put a tag for all the VLANs. For second thing, VLANs allowed and active in management domain. He is saying I will put the tag for all the VLANs. Agree? But at this time only these VLANs are available. How many VLANs are available? Only these VLANs. This result we will discuss when we will discuss about spanning tree. When we will discuss about this thing is clear. So these three things are clear to all of you. One command, show VLAN VLAN name is, VLAN number is, name is, status is, which port it is member of? 1 and, because 21 is which port? Trunk port. And trunk port is member of every VLAN. Trunk port is member of every. One most important thing, show VLAN brief. Now you cannot see port number 21 here. Check, is it available or no? Not. No. Why? Because it is not a member of one VLAN. It is member of all the VLANs. This thing is clear? Any issues? Any problem? Now, if I try to communicate, look here now, show interface FA 2/0/21 switch port. Mode is? Operational mode is? He is saying I am desirable and I am working as trunk. Operational trunking encapsulation is now ISL. Negotiation of trunking is still, and in trunking encapsulation is still negotiation. This thing is clear. But if I move to switch 2 and I check the same thing, what is saying? His mode is, and he is still acting as. What do you mean by this thing? It means the other end is dynamic, desirable. The other end is dynamic. Only then the trunk will form. Otherwise, your mode will be static access. Negotiation of trunking is on. Encapsulation is ISL. Now, next thing. Switch port, mode. What I am configuring? Switch port mode. Switch will give me an error. See. मैंने बताया था if you have to configure a port as trunk, encapsulation must be set to .1Q or ISL. By default encapsulation is negotiate. So first of all I have to set the encapsulation. Switch port, trunk, encapsulation. Which encapsulation you want to set? कितने ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं? कौन से? By default is negotiate. So I have to configure it as now I am able to run the command switch port mode. See here, show interface FA 1/0/21 mode is mode on, means you have statically configured it as trunk. Encapsulation is, it is not negotiating, it is set to dot. Status is this result, you know. This thing is fine. Now next thing, show interface FA 1/0/21. Sorry. After that I have to add a keyword switch port. Now, mode is, it is acting as negotiation of trunking still. Encapsulation we are running is operational encapsulation is also .1 queue. This thing is clear. But if I check the same thing on mode is, operational mode is, encapsulation is, what is it is negotiating .1 queue. Negotiation of trunking is on. Negotiating. Why? Because on the other end we are running mode is. This thing is clear. Fine. If I configure this port as auto also, it will work. Yes or no? Switch port mode, dynamic, auto. It is still working. Any issues? Show DTP. Sending DTP hello packet after every. DTP trunk timeout is 10 interfaces using. Now, I am moving to switch 2 to show you one thing, that when I configure a port manually as trunk, DTP will never get disabled on it. Show DTP interface FA to 1/0/21. DTP still, mode is on. DTP is still enabled. This thing is clear. DTP is still running. Any problem? No. Next thing. Ping 192.168. Communicating. Communicating because of trunk link. This thing is clear. Last concept for the day. Now there is a demand that I don't want that VLAN 10 users will communicate through this trunk. I don't want. There can be a requirement like this also, that they are communicating, I am fine with the thing, but I want to stop their communication. So what you can do is, you can manipulate this allowed list. You can manipulate this. How? Switch port trunk. Which VLAN I want to allowed? By default all are allowed. I want to allow all VLAN except 10. See, first thing is you can define a list like I am defining here: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Only which VLANs will be allowed? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now if you want to check here, do show interface trunk. Which VLANs are allowed? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Second thing, second option is add. I want to add one VLAN. I want to add 60 also to the list. So you can use which keyword? Add keyword. 60 will be added. 60 is also added. Agree? Now what you want to do? All will be allowed. All are allowed. Agree? Except means except this VLAN all will be. Let's say except 10. Except 10, all other are allowed. Next option, none. None means no VLAN will be allowed. And remove means if you want to remove a VLAN from a list that you have created. This thing is clear? So here I am running which command? Except 10. I want to allow all the VLANs. Except 10 all are allowed. It means this time VLAN 10 user will never able to communicate with VLAN 10 user. Yes or no? कोई दिक्कत? कोई problem? Clear? DTP finish? You can do the practicals now. All the best.